Welcome to Caleb's Basketball Pod. As I mentioned yesterday, we were going to see our All-Star starters last night. We did that. We will get to that in a minute. But I want to go and talk about just a couple little headlines from yesterday. Then we're going to have this as our All-Star show. I'll recap the All-Star starters, say if I agreed with what was picked, and then I will pick my 7 for each conference on who I feel should be All-Star reserves. But let's touch on Boston, LA. We saw Boston versus the Los Angeles Lakers last night. Boston was on the second night of a back-to-back, but they got routed by the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron had a really good game. It was the Celtics' largest deficit of the season and ended up being their largest defeat of the season. Huge game from the Lakers, really showed out, but it's can we get this effort constantly from the Lakers, and right now we're struggling to see that. Another game I want to talk about was Orlando Magic lost 101-79 to the Portland Trailblazers. Magic have now lost 5 straight. Not looking as good, oddly enough, since Paolo came back and Franz Wagner played last night too, and they still got routed. Their offense has been horrendous, to be honest. Tough to buy baskets for the Magic, but losing by 22 points to the Portland Trailblazers, that's just bad. They need to figure their offense out, and they need to figure it out quick. Last game I want to speak on last night real quick before we get into our All-Star festivities. We saw the Oklahoma City Thunder drop a game to the Dallas Mavericks. Oklahoma has only lost 8 games, and 3 of those 8 have been to the Dallas Mavericks, and all 3 have been without Luka Doncic playing. Is it possible Dallas still has the Thunder's number after beating them in the second round of the playoffs last season? Right now it's looking like that, and we haven't even seen Luka go against them yet. But Clay didn't play either last night, and I know you can say, well, Chet Holmgren, Hartenstein didn't play either, but I'm just saying right now, to beat a team that only has 8 losses and to beat 3, almost half of them, this, midway through the season, is really crazy to think about, and the fact that Dallas may just have Oklahoma's number has something else to think about. It may be how Jason Kidd preps his guys to go against that Thunder team. It may be Mark Daigneault just to have an answer for how Jason Kidd's coming out and going against them with his game plan. I don't know, but that's an interesting little stat. Now let's get into the All-Star. Last night, our starters were announced. We're going to start off with the Western Conference. For Western Conference, we had Stephen Curry, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Nikola Jokic. I don't want to say I dislike the starters. I think they're fine. I think it's kind of it's the last of the old guard, so to speak. LeBron, Durant, Stephen Curry. But I just want to say it's questionable to put Stephen Curry in there. He's had a lot of not great games this season. I feel like you could have done Anthony Edwards, maybe even Kyrie Irving. I felt they've been more consistently just playing better, and their teams have better records than the Golden State Warriors. But a lot of this is fan votes, and fans love Stephen Curry. So, I think that's a big part of where that comes in at. But like I said, I think there was other ways you could have gone. I like for Shai Gilgeous, I like for LeBron, I like for Jokic. KD's missed some time, and I think it's questionable to have Kevin Durant in there. I think questionably he could have been replaced with maybe Victor Wembanyama. But again, you can't go wrong because, like I said, it may be the last one for the old guard in the NBA. So maybe the last time you see LeBron, Durant, and Stephen Curry all starting the same All-Star game. Who knows? And like I also mentioned yesterday, it'll be interesting to see how starters go, because now there's 3 teams and they're picking from this, so you would go 3-3, even there's an extra. So again, just interesting to see how that's going to play out. Now, who would I have on All-Star reserves? We have 7. So how that would work is 2 guards, 3 front courts, and to any position. I think that's how they used to do it. I'm not sure if that's exactly how they do it again, but I'm just going to lay it out in that way because, like I said, I'm assuming that's how they're probably going to do it. Let's start with 3 front court players. This is difficult, but I think for my 3 front court guys, I think I'm going to go Anthony Davis, Jaren Jackson, and Victor Wembanyama. No surprise on Davis. He's had an amazing year. Victor Wembanyama, as I mentioned earlier, he had an argument to be an all-star starter in my opinion, so no surprise there. Jaren Jackson, Memphis currently sits at the 4th seed in the Western Conference, right behind Houston and quite a bit the ways behind Oklahoma, but still top 3 team. And Jaren Jackson's really been the heartbeat of that team. So he leads them in scoring, he leads them in rebounds. He's just been playing really good. He's had an underrated season, and not a lot of people are talking about him. Now for my guards, this is where it gets tricky. You have some options here just to talk about who we have. We have Devin Booker possibly, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Anthony Edwards, De'Aaron Fox. Jalen Green's been up and down. I think he deserves to be talked about. I don't think I would pick him for an all-star, but I think he should be spoke about for this. Me personally, I think I would pick Anthony Edwards. I think that's the most definite. And just because of lack of missing games and playing a lot of the season, I think I would have to go Devin Booker. He's played throughout most of the season. He's only missed a few games, not many, as to where guys like Kyrie Irving's missed quite a few games. De'Aaron Fox has missed quite a few games. Jalen Green's been too inconsistent for me. And De'Aaron Fox, the Kings start off really shaky, and now they're starting to turn it around. But I think I would have to go Devin Booker and Anthony Edwards. Then for my last 2, and there's other guys that deserve it. There's Sabonis out there. He's had a really good season, really coming around as of late. And as I mentioned, for 2 guards I was talking about. But Houston currently sits number 2 in Western Conference. I think they deserve an all-star just because of sitting number 2. So because of that, I'm going to say Alperen Sengun as an all-star. And I'm going to say Jalen Williams from the Oklahoma City Thunder. I believe Jalen Williams has had an amazing season. I think it would be a travesty if that man's not on an all-star team. Now let's move to the Eastern Conference. I do believe, in my opinion, the starters for the East, I think they got it right. In my opinion, our starters are Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Jason Tatum. I would have picked the same starters. Like I mentioned, I thought maybe LaMelo, because he led all Eastern guards in voting, that he would be a starter. But I think because of the other votes that come from the other 50% that weren't fans, he didn't make it, and Jalen Brunson did, and I want to say rightfully so. And it's not a dig at LaMelo. I just mentioned before, 11 wins. It's not really an all-star starter in my opinion, because all-star has to be, if you're a star, you have to impact winning, and 11 wins is not impacting winning. So to be a starter, I just did think that was correct, and we see Brunson, and I like that. Now let's get to the reserves. Same way as Western Conference. Let's go our front court. Looking around for possibilities, I believe Jaylen Brown is considered a forward this year. Sometimes he's in the guard picks. I believe he's considered a forward. Or at least for this, I'm going to consider him a forward, and I'm going to put him in there. Orlando, France, Paolo, they missed too much to be considered, in my opinion. Joel Embiid's missed way too many games to be considered an all-star. Paul George has not played like an all-star. Philly's way out of contention of anything. Miami, I don't really see anyone. Bam's been low for him this season. Boston, I believe Brown should make it. As I mentioned, I don't really see anyone else from Boston being an all-star this year. Last year, I believe they had a case for 2 or 3 or more all-stars. This season, I'm not seeing the same. That would lead me to Cleveland. I'm going to say Evan Mobley. I think he's had an amazing year and most definitely an all-star year in my opinion. So I'm going to go Jaylen Brown, Evan Mobley. Atlanta, I don't really see a forward from Atlanta that I would pick in there. The Chicago, I don't really see anyone. We have Charlotte, Washington, no. Let's move to the guards. There's a lot of interest in guards here that we could put in, and we could put as all-stars. I think there's more choices in the guard section in the East. I think your possibilities are Cade Cunningham. I believe he's had an amazing year. Trae Young, he's had a great year in my opinion. Darius Garland's had a really good year in my opinion. I don't see Tyrese Halliburton as an all-star this year. No disrespect to him, I just don't think he's really had a great season. I think he's been up and down, so I'm not going to say him. Tyler Hero has a case to be an all-star this season, most definitely. Think, of course, Damian Lillard has a case to be an all-star. Going to say for my 2 guards here, I'm going to go Cade Cunningham and Darius Garland. Just because Darius Garland's been really good in the clutch, averaging 20-some points a game. LaMelo's another possibility. I'm going to go more so on the winning side for this part of it, and maybe put LaMelo in with the 2 non-positional players. I'm going to say Darius Garland and Cade Cunningham, and then we need to get that last forward spot in the East. Pascal Siakam's a possibility. He's had a pretty good season. I don't see anyone else from Milwaukee a possibility. Don't see anyone from Brooklyn a possibility. Don't see anyone else from New York a possibility. Don't see anyone from Toronto a possibility. So the forward spot's a little tricky. So we're going to end up going. I'm going to go Pascal Siakam. Currently, the Pacers sit at like around the 5th or 6th area, 5 to 7 area, I want to say, in the Eastern Conference, and he's had a really good season. So I'm going to say Pascal Siakam for this spot, and then for my 2 non-positional pieces, I'm going to say LaMelo Ball and Trae Young. I think Trae Young's had an amazing season, playing really good, and I do think there's something to be said, especially how many votes LaMelo's got, how popular he is, and he has had a really good season. I'm going to go LaMelo for that final spot, but a lot of good players in the NBA, and very interested. I just want to see how this game plays out, and I just hope there's a level of competitiveness that we haven't seen in a while in this All-Star format. But thank you for watching. I'll see you Monday, and we'll talk more NBA, and hopefully something exciting happens over this weekend in the NBA. I'm looking forward to this weekend. A lot of good games coming up. We have a playoff rematch between the Nuggets and the Timberwolves tomorrow, so that game should be interesting. Stay tuned, guys. Thanks for tuning in.